What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin our talks on the Evocation Wizard, the wizard that looks to blow everything up in his or her path, but does that necessarily mean that you are the most effective wizard that's out there? We're gonna find that out today, but before we do, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We are so close to 5,000 subscribers. Please help us to get there. I would love to get there by the end of this year, and we are a little over 100 subscribers off, so we're really close. So please help me out with that. Of course, share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. Now, the Evocation Wizard is basically what it sounds like. This is the school of magic that is focused on dealing damage and on blowing things up and a lot of things at once, right? Most of your big damaging spells are going to fall into this category with a few exceptions, Fireball of course being the headliner of this, but you know, that's really cool. Now, we talked last week, of course, when we were talking about the Enchantment Wizard and just how much that subclass actually pushes your enchantment magic. Does the Evocation Wizard do the same thing? We're gonna find that out today after a word from our sponsor. If you are looking for a great gift this upcoming Christmas season, then the Wandering Tavern by Homie and the Dude is the perfect one for the TTRPG lover. This system agnostic setting features 15 floors and 23 unique locations for you to explore on a massive airship. Interact with the various factions to learn all of the mysteries held within this vessel. Learn recipes for unique benefits and even compete in a bake-off. If you like the work of Studio Ghibli, then this is absolutely the one for you. Learn more with the link below and use code DAPPER10 to receive 10% off at checkout. And of course, by doing so, you will be supporting my channel. Thank you again to Homie and the Dude for supporting the channel, and let's get back to the video. So starting us off at level 2, we get a couple of features. Number 1, we get Evocation Savant, which is the same feature that we've gotten on all of the other OG wizards, being able to write down spells for half the time and half the cost of the particular school. So that's perfectly fine, nothing crazy there, we're not gonna rank that. But what we do get that's unique to us is Sculpt spells, and it does essentially what you think it does, which is actually kind of cool. So when you cast an evocation spell that affects creatures that you can see, you can choose a number of creatures equal to 1 plus that spell's level. Those creatures will automatically succeed the saving throw against that spell and take no damage if they normally would take half damage on a successful save. So again, we just talked about Fireball in the intro, right? So Fireball is one of the biggest contenders here, right? But there are plenty of spells that are cones, right? Sleet Storm, you've even got Cone of Cold, you've got all of those things that could, in theory, hit your allies, or at least just somebody you don't want to target. This allows that creature to not take the damage, which is kind of cool, right? This allows you to fireball, and let's say you've got a grouping of people around there, but your barbarian is right in the thick of it. You can hit everybody but that barbarian. So kind of cool, right? And it's funny because this feature actually is even better than what you would get as a sorcerer through Careful Spell. Careful Spell just allows you to pass the saving throw. This actually negates the damage entirely. So in that way, you are better off than a sorcerer. Either way, I still think that this is a little bit more geared towards your newbies, and it may not be something that you are going to want to use all that much. I just don't see it as the biggest of deals. Either way, it's not the worst thing. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's the worst feature out there. It certainly does not take anything away, but I definitely think that there could be something here that's a lot more powerful. At level 6, we get Potent Cantrip, and this allows us to still deal damage to creatures with our cantrips, even when technically we missed. So with this, whenever we use a cantrip that forces a saving throw to deal damage, if the creature does save, it still is going to take half damage. You're not going to deal any extra effects, nothing like that, but you still are going to deal half damage even if the saving throw was successful. This is fine, I guess. You know, cantrips really, when we're dealing with cantrips like this, typically if I'm casting something like Mind Sliver, then I'm not really worried about the damage, right? I'm not worried about dealing 3 damage, right? I'm more so focused on making sure that I get that secondary effect off. And so in that way, I would say that this isn't necessarily the most useful thing out there. It's a cantrip, so it's not like we wasted a spell slot on it. So, I mean, I guess it just makes sure that you deal a little bit of damage rather than 0 damage. I don't know, I just don't think that this is dealing as much damage as what it kind of makes itself out to be. So to me, it's okay. It's a 6 out of 10. Like, it doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't really help all that much either. At level 10, we get Empowered Evocation, and this makes our spells hit just a little bit harder. So when we cast an Evocation spell, we can add our Intelligence modifier to the damage roll, well, at least one of the damage rolls on that spell. That is a very important distinction because there are certain spells that have different rolls, but you can only add it to one of the damage rolls on certain spells. So definitely keep that in mind. But here's the thing. To me, I think this is something that should have been just part of Dungeons and Dragons when it came out, was that spells dealt damage equal to whatever your ability score modifier is. That maybe that's just me, right? Because weapons users already do this. I know spellcasters are already insanely good, but still, this just feels like something that should have already been baked into everybody, at least on the spellcasting side. So it's a little weird to see that here. Ultimately, though, I don't know that it's worth a 10th level feature to get something that I feel like should be baked into the rules for literally everybody from get-go. It's fine. It's fine. Ultimately, it does deal extra damage, so it's helpful, I guess, but it's no more than a 6 out of 10. The extra damage is nice. It's fine, but I feel like it's just a little bit limited, and definitely it's just something that we should have already had anyway. At level 14, we get Overchannel, and this is a huge boost to damage at a bit of a cost. So with this, whenever we cast a spell, not just an evocation spell, but a spell that is a wizard spell between 1st and 5th level, we can deal maximum damage with that spell. The first time that we do this, there are no adverse effects. If we do this again, we take 2d12 necrotic damage for every level of that spell immediately after we cast it. Every time we use this feature again after finishing a long rest, the necrotic damage per spell level goes up by 1d12. And this actually does ignore any kind of resistance or immunity. So good luck going with any kind of race that normally would give you resistance. Good luck getting any kind of other features. Not going to happen. You are going to take this damage. This is a tough one because the damage is really good and it's definitely worth using it the first time. After that, I don't know, because if you did that on a 5th level spell, that's kind of wild, because what people think is, oh, it's just 3d12 and that's it, right? Or I take 2d12 on the second time. No, 2d12 for each level of the spell. So on that second time, if it's a 5th level spell, that is 10d12 necrotic damage. You're a wizard. You are not gonna like that. You may not even survive that, depending on how much HP you have, depending on what level you are. That can be incredibly detrimental to you. Is it worth it? I don't know. It really depends on your situation. It really has to do with making sure that what you are doing here is worth it. You're still going to get the spell off because it does specify that it is immediately after you cast the spell. You can still get that fireball off. You can still get that big damaging spell off. However, you then are going to take a ton of damage, and you've got to make sure that either you can take it or that you're okay going down and possibly dying depending on how much damage you take. And honestly, that is a situation by situation basis, but for the most part, I would say this may not be the best thing to do past the one-time use. And to me, that makes this quite limited in what it is that we can do. Again, the maxing out of damage is really nice, but essentially it's a once per long rest feature unless you want to possibly put yourself in a really, really bad spot. So To me, with that limitation in mind, that gives me a 7 out of 10. I don't think that it's anything broken because that limitation is just so harsh. The damage can be really good, just make sure that it counts. So what do we think of the Evocation Wizard? This one is interesting. I really thought, at least going into this, that the Evocation Wizard would be this really powerful damage dealing crazy kind of thing. Honestly, it's really not. It does focus on spells that deal damage, especially those that deal splash damage, that deal damage to a bunch of creatures at once. That is really the focus here. However, would I say that this is the most effective wizard out there? I don't think this is by a long shot. There's nothing here that really screams this is the best wizard out there, that this is going to be the best wizard you've ever played. You're going to deal every bit of damage. You're going to kill everything out there. I do not get that feeling. However, I also don't get the feeling that this is complete garbage. I don't think that this is necessarily the worst thing that's out there. I definitely have read some worse wizards out there. I'll throw one up in the ad card above, but still, I do think that this is just mediocre. I think it's fine. I think Sculpt Spells focuses way too much on new players, which again is not a bad thing. It's nice to have the beginner's wizard, right? But I do feel like that as you grow as a wizard and just as a Dungeons and Dragons player, I think you're going to use Sculpt Spell less and less and less and less, and then wish you had something else. And that's really where the issue comes in, is that I feel like by the time you figure out really how all this works, you will want to be different. And that's not a good thing. That's not a satisfying character to play for an extended period of time, 7, 8, 10 levels, whatever it happens to be. So for me, the overall thing here is just, it's fine. It's not bad. It's not great. And that ultimately gives it a 7 out of 10. I don't think we need to redo it, but it certainly could be a lot better. But ultimately, I think it's fine. I think it's worth trying one out, especially if you are new and wanting to try Wizard out. Wizard is complicated, and this does help out with that. So if you're a new player wanting to try out the Wizard, this may not be the worst option for you. So it's worth at least giving it a look. So that is all for today. I hope you all enjoyed that. Later this week, we're going to be building one together, and I'm looking forward to that. And of course, on Saturday, we have our week 4 battle for the UNPL Fall Brawl Little Cup tournament. So make sure you don't miss that either. We're coming up on the end of the year as well, and I'm looking forward to getting through all of the wizards and moving on to 2024. It's going to be a really good time. I hope you all are looking forward to that as well. Till next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.